Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the best place for the best takes. I'm Benjamin Cure, your host, and this is the Benjamin Cure Show. Less than a week from now, we are going to watch the biggest sporting event of the year, the singular biggest game in sports, the Super Bowl. It is going to be a game between two NFL juggernauts, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Kansas City Chiefs in Arizona. It is sure to be a must-watch game. I can't wait. Later in the show, I have a Super Bowl preview that I'm very excited for. But we have to start this show with the biggest sports news of the week, what really took over the weekend's headlines as well. On Friday, Kyrie Irving requested a trade from the Brooklyn Nets around 2 p.m. Eastern Time. We started hearing later on after that news was released that the Brooklyn Nets and Kyrie's team were in the middle of contract negotiations for a max extension, a long-term extension, that would keep him in Brooklyn for years to come. And apparently what we've learned is that they were so far apart in what each side wanted that there was just no way to kind of come together and meet at a middle ground. It is said and reported after the fact, of course, that apparently Kyrie was upset. Some even say he was insulted by the offer the Nets gave him. What we're hearing is that it was pretty incentive-based. Some people are even saying that he had to win an NBA title in order to get that max extension. A lot of stipulations in that contract that he did not like. He requested a trade. Now, if you're like me, the entire weekend, you thought, or from the moment you heard the news, you thought, Los Angeles Lakers, Kyrie Irving is going to be an LA Laker, and LeBron is going to be an immediate contender in the West and possibly for the NBA Finals, more realistically so than he is right now. But on Sunday night, Sunday afternoon rather, we learned from another one of Shams Charania's tweets, credit to him, he has been on top of the story like no one else, that the Brooklyn Nets were going to be trading Kyrie Irving to the Dallas Mavericks. So Kyrie Irving is going to be joining Mark Cuban and Luka in Dallas. Now, I want to backtrack a little bit here because now what we are hearing even later, what we heard later into Sunday night was that Joe Tsai of the Brooklyn Nets, he was pretty much willing to move Kyrie just about anywhere except for the Lakers because apparently Joe Tsai did not want to give Kyrie Irving what he wanted. He didn't want to give in. Well, how would he know that Kyrie Irving wanted to go to the Lakers? I saw that question being asked a lot on social media by casual fans or fans who really weren't aware of the circumstances. Now, Joe Tsai, whatever you may think of him, however petty or not, Joe Tsai is a smart man. Joe Tsai knows what we know and what I know and the breakdown that I am going to give you now. For weeks on this show, for months, I have told you, these leaks that we hear about in sports, they don't come from nowhere. Someone wants us to know about these things. That's why they get out. The question is who and why. And chances are it's because they benefit the most from the information being out there. On Thursday night, the day before Kyrie Irving requested his trade, I understand we're close to the trade deadline, but this is not coincidental. Thursday night, the news breaks, hits Twitter, hits Sports Illustrated, hits all those big publications, that the Lakers are looking to move Russell Westbrook and the first rounders to potentially another team. Some were even considering the Utah Jazz was the conversation, was the team that they were in the mix with. But that news got out. And I know we're close to the trade deadline, and I know insiders are doing their job. But information like that on a Thursday night just doesn't spill. We were a little bit too far out from the trade deadline to be talking about those kinds of things. And we've heard about the Russell Westbrook rumors for a long time now. Why was it all of a sudden an official report? Why was it being made such a big deal? LeBron James and his camp leaked that information to the media, that Russell Westbrook was in the process of being dealt away. That's what they leaked out. Now, you might be thinking, Ben, a million people could have done it. The Lakers, when it comes to leaks, are like a leaky faucet. Nothing can stay secret in that building. I understand that. But LeBron James, we know how he really feels about Russell Westbrook behind closed doors. He wanted that out there. And I wouldn't be shocked if, we've heard that LeBron James and Kyrie Irving have stayed friends now and are a little bit more amicable now than they were previously, and that they talk. I wouldn't be surprised if LeBron James constructed this and said, hey, besides me being talked about because of the whole Kareem Abdul-Jabbar situation and me becoming the all-time leader in points pretty soon, I want to be able to contend for a title. I don't want that to be the biggest headline. I want to have something else to look forward to once I have this feat under my belt. I wouldn't be surprised if LeBron James was talking to Kyrie Irving and they were kind of scheming this. And a lot of people who are high up there seem to think that was the case, including Joe Tsai. The timing is just a little bit too coincidental for my liking. The report hits about Russell Westbrook on Thursday night. We hear Friday afternoon, the day after, that Kyrie is looking to be traded and that he's looking to move. And pretty much the leading candidate the entire time was the Mavericks and the Lakers. It seemed almost too obvious that Kyrie would be going to the Lakers. Sure enough, trust your gut. When it's too obvious, when it's too good to be true, it's probably not happening. Something is going to get in the way, and that's what happened. So, enough with the context. I just wanted to share my perspective on that. That way you guys could see where my head was at. But let's talk about the new pairing, Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. What will they look like on the court together? Well, first off, Luka and Kyrie are now the best duo in the NBA right now. There's not a question. I mean, you can look at other duos and, Kyrie, Kevin Durant was probably one of the best duos in the NBA. Now that no longer exists, I would say now it's Kyrie and Luka. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, I respect them. I don't think they're a better duo than Luka and Kyrie. I don't think that anyone else is capable. I don't think Donovan Mitchell and his number 2 on the Cleveland Cavaliers is as good as Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. I think they've separated themselves from the pack. I think this move solidifies Luka and Kyrie Irving as the best duo in the NBA right now. When they step out onto the court together, they are going to be the best offensive duo for sure. They're going to light up the box score and the actual score like a pinball machine in the back of your favorite diner back then. I mean, they are going to light it up. The question here becomes, does Luka ever have any problems with Kyrie Irving's personality? Do they ever get into any scuffles? I think Luka, thankfully has dealt with this kind of situation before. I think a lot more timidly, though, in Porzingis. We know that, there was some clashing personalities when it came to Luka and Porzingis. Maybe Porzingis rubbed Luka off the wrong way. Whatever the case may be, maybe Luka has learned from that situation and he'll be a better counterpart this time around, and he'll be able to deal with Kyrie and balance out those emotions and the tensions and all the unknowns that Kyrie Irving brings to the table, and why some people don't like him and some really want to stay away from him. It's not his on-the-court play. We know what he is as a player. It's the off-the-court stuff that gets everybody upset and frustrated and exasperated, quite frankly. So the one thing that I would say to look out for, if I did have one concern about this, it's my golden rule in basketball. It's what I believe to be the most underrated stat in the entire NBA, and it's very telling. Ball usage rate or ball usage percentage. Now, when Russell Westbrook was traded to the Lakers, I talked about this. I didn't have my show at the time, so you guys might have not heard about it, but I talked about this with friends, and I might have even shared some clips of me talking about it on my Instagram story. I can't quite remember, or like a story post at least, where I said this is not a good move. I did not like the Russell Westbrook to Los Angeles move. I didn't like it at all. And the reason I didn't is because of a very telling stat, ball usage rate. Ball usage rate is essentially how much time, what percentage of the game do these guys have the ball in their hands for. It means that pretty much the entire offense is going through you, essentially. Back then, when I looked at it, already, LeBron James and Russell Westbrook were top 5 all time in the NBA when it came to ball usage percentage. All time top 5. 2 guys in the top 5, that was never going to work, because LeBron James, he's going to have the ball in his hands, especially down the stretch of games. Anthony Davis, well, LeBron James has already said for years, publicly and privately, we've heard, he doesn't want to be the number 1 offensive option. He wants the offense to run through AD. We talked about this story in the offseason. He talked to Darvin Ham about this. His plan for the Lakers this year was he wanted AD to take the reins as the number 1 guy. He wanted the offense to go through Anthony Davis, and he wanted to be the secondary option. Now, that's not going to work when you expect Anthony Davis to be the number one option. You want LeBron James to be number two, and then you have to add Russell Westbrook into that mix, who's already an odd fit in terms of personality, but on the court as well. Russell Westbrook has never been good off ball. He is hyper athletic. He has to have the ball in his hands. He has to make plays with the ball in his hands. He's not Klay Thompson with like a historically low ball usage percentage rate while still being a great shooter. That's not what Russell Westbrook is. He's a get my own shot kind of guy, move around, test the waters, drive into the lane or don't. He has to do it for himself. He can't just stand in the wing or wait for somebody to pass it to him and shoot. He's not a catch-and-shoot guy. So being the third option out of LeBron and AD and Russ, that just wasn't going to work for Russell Westbrook. It was never going to work, and I called it, and it didn't. Also, you can also note that Russell Westbrook is a hyper-athletic athlete. Those don't age well. I mean, most recently, the biggest example we have is in the NFL, Cam Newton. They age ugly quickly. And that's the reality of the situation. As much as we love them when they're in their prime, as much of a showstopper as each of those guys was, it catches up with you quick as you age. You're not as fast. You're not as agile. You don't heal as well. You don't have that same bounce or pep in your step or shift or ankle-breaking maneuvers. It all starts to dissipate as you get older. So Luka, Kyrie, I think it's going to be a great duo. I think they are now strong contenders in the West, which is very tight. I think the difference between like the 3 seed and the 13th seed is like 4 games. It's very close. There's a lot of parity in the West. This definitely separates the Dallas Mavericks and puts them ahead of the pack. And this puts them in a strong position for Luka's sake. Very happy for him that now he might be able to make an extended run. It'll be a legacy series for him this playoffs. And also the Warriors, who have a lot of veteran guys and are top heavy in the sense that the top guys are veterans. They seem a little bit tired. They seem a little bit worn out. Steph Curry just got injured again. We'll see what that's all about in the coming days. But, older players, veteran players just came off a long title run. Maybe they just don't have it this year, and it's too quickly for them to bounce back. This is a good point in time for Luka, Kyrie, and Mark Cuban to make a run at this NBA Finals. It's going to be very exciting. I look forward to it. Basketball season just got very, very interesting. So an interesting story developing right now as I'm on the air. LeBron James seems to have done an interview with the New York Times, and some big quotes are making the rounds. LeBron James historically was always more open than Michael Jordan. And I think that's one of the biggest differences beyond the court of basketball, and it's something that nobody really talks about. LeBron James is a lot more open about topics. LeBron James is always willing to speak on political things that matter to him, whether you agree or disagree with him. Michael Jordan always kind of stayed away from that. He shied away from the political tensions and from social justice issues, while LeBron James is always seemingly at the forefront of it, always has a tweet out about the situation. I know that might seem silly, but he always wants his perspective heard. He wants people to know what's on his mind. And I think that's, to a certain extent, that is admirable. And it's just a key difference between him and Michael Jordan. It's a big distinction for me. So the big quote making the round is LeBron James told the New York Times, "There are times when I wish I could do normal things. I wish I could go to Target sometimes and walk into Starbucks and have my name on the cup just like regular people." This is the next quote. "I'm not sitting here complaining about it. Of course not. But it can be challenging at times." That was LeBron James on wishing he could do normal things via the New York Times. It shows you where his head is at. As he gets older, he is more open than ever. He is more honest than ever. He is struggling as a team. He's not in contention for NBA Finals anymore. He's not able to carry these teams all the way like he used to when he was younger. He's being a lot more open about his perspectives, his opinions, who he plays with, and what he's going through in life. And he's getting closer to the age where hopefully he can have his son in the NBA and he wants to play alongside him. LeBron James has built a brand bigger than basketball. The movies, going to LA, it wasn't to play for the Lakers. As historic and as honoring as the organization is, it was not to play for the Los Angeles Lakers. He was going to go to LA come hell or high water because it is the entertainment capital of the world. And LeBron James has tripled his net worth since he got there, has made his brand more global than it's ever been. I mean, he is an icon of the sport. He is an icon of the sports world and of the entertainment world. And it's just one of those things where I don't knock LeBron for saying this. I'm glad that he is more open, honest, transparent, and even sometimes emotional than guys like Michael Jordan ever were. Michael Jordan refused to speak up on social justice issues, never let anybody know what he thought about political issues. And you may say, oh, I like sports better that way. Well, it just kind of seems a little bit unnatural. LeBron is 100% authentically himself at all times. Michael Jordan was angry, abrasive, and was always trying to shy away from these things that LeBron is very honest about, where I think, LeBron is helping a lot of young athletes by saying this because he helps them understand, hey, it's not all roses and rainbows here at the top. There are certain things that I deal with too. And if you're also dealing with this behind the scenes, understand that it is perfectly normal and that it's not some outlier anomaly kind of thing. So I'm glad LeBron talked about this. I'm interested to see the response from fans as to what they think about this whole LeBron thing. But it turns out Kwame Brown was right. He called it in his interview. And I think a lot of us also know this behind the scenes in our heart of hearts. I'm sure there's plenty of times when athletes feel a little bit, they feel a little bit like they're surrounded, like they're being swarmed, like fans and media are on top of them. And I'm just as much to blame for those kinds of things as other sportscasters and other media outlets and other fans. But it's the business that we're in, and it is the sports business. You kind of do, I hate to say you signed up for it, but you kind of did. It goes hand in hand in today's day and age. When sports grow 3 and 4 times over because of big-time media rights deals, you're going to see crossover in these situations. I'm just glad LeBron was open and honest enough to tell us what he's actually feeling. I'm really interested to read more of that article, and I'm going to once this show's over. So let's try to wrap this up. So last week, the news became official. The Denver Broncos were hiring Sean Payton as their head coach with an estimated salary between $17 and $20 million per year, which is lower than was being reported, lower than I thought, certainly. I thought he was going to hit the 30s. I really thought he was going to get around $28 to $30 million per year, but apparently he didn't. So they didn't want to reset the coaching market. They didn't want to upset other owners. So that's the way the cookie crumbles. But I want to talk about this because although this news is already a little bit old since it came out last week, I haven't gotten to discuss it, number one. And number two, I see a lot of fans out there saying, oh, congratulations to the Broncos. Sean Payton can get them 1 or 2 more wins, and they'll have 5 or 6 or 7 wins at the end of the season. What? If you think Sean Payton is not going to be an excellent catalyst for growth and success in Denver, you're out of your mind. Sean Payton built a Hall of Fame coaching career out of utilizing an undersized quarterback with a big arm and accuracy. Up until last year with Nathaniel Hackett, up until this year with Nathaniel Hackett, Russell Wilson was excellent in Seattle. And sure, Pete Carroll's a good head coach. He proved that this year, but he's not an offensive-minded guy. Russell Wilson is naturally an excellent quarterback talent who is accurate and can make big plays down the field and can use his legs to escape the pocket and extend plays. Why did that disappear this year? It was because of coaching. It was because of Nathaniel Hackett. So many reports have come out, on the record, off the record, about Nathaniel Hackett and how he was in over his head in Denver. That failure this year can be attributed to Nathaniel Hackett, not Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson has been excellent throughout his entire career. I don't think he's just all of a sudden washed. I did think that at some point it looked like he'd lost touch of his deep ball. Now I wonder if that's just coaching, and I wonder if that's scheming. I think Sean Payton is going to do excellent things with Russell Wilson. I think he's going to make them very successful. I don't see them beating out Kansas City for the division, but think about it. Yes, they are very tight when it comes to cap restraints. They can't just go out and buy free agents, but they do have big-time players in all the right spots, a great roster. They've got the right guys in the right spots. They have Jerry Jeudy, who they're not paying yet. It's going to be a contract year for him. He's going to have to step it up or get traded and shipped off. I mean, this is a recipe for success for Denver. This year's Denver in 2023, this upcoming year, this is going to be the Denver that we thought we'd see last year under Nathaniel Hackett. Sean Payton is going to unleash Russell Wilson. Sean Payton was actually on The Herd with Colin Cowherd last week, And he said one of his first orders of business would be he is going to tell his coaching staff and assistants, clip up the best downfield plays from Russell Wilson this year, the 30-yard passes downfield. He said, then I'm going to watch those plays and figure out what's in common. Is there a scheme that Russell Wilson is really effective in? Is there something that he's more comfortable with or that he likes? Then I will build my offense around that. Sean Payton is a great head coach. He's a mastermind. He's going to figure it out. He is very well respected. He is going to rule with an iron fist and going to be very imposing, I'm sure, to start off the season. He's going to make it known that he is the guy in charge, no matter how many offices Russell Wilson has in that Denver Broncos stadium or office. It's not very often that I talk about soccer on this show, so trust that if I do bring the subject up, it's because I'm talking about an incredibly important story. And honestly, I'm very interested to see what fans' response will be to this particular segment because there's a lot of layers to it. So it is being reported right now that Lionel Messi could join Inter Miami CF in the summer and essentially join Major League Soccer. And this is, full transparency, I work as digital host for Inter Miami CF. It's an excellent professional opportunity. It allows me to get my reps in with the pros on a more consistent basis. I interview our academy athletes. I write stories for our website. It's a lot of fun, and I'm incredibly grateful to them. But this is one of those moments where business and business intersect. I do work for them, and I have an obligation to them, but I also have this podcast, which they know about and they encourage, and they've been super supportive of whenever I mention it. But this is a story that I can no longer ignore. This is internationally. Maybe it may not seem like it in the United States because of everything that's going on with the Super Bowl and the NBA, but this is one of the biggest international stories in sports. And I think I should mention it. So I'm going to be totally transparent here. I have heard that Lionel Messi is being offered many things. I have heard different components of his compensation and what a deal would look like if he were to join Inter Miami CF and Major League Soccer this summer. But out of respect for my employer and integrity and confidentiality, I don't want to discuss anything that I've seen on the internet or rumors. If you really want to know, and it's killing you to know, what's going on, you can probably find a lot of the information and the details on the internet. And there's certain components that aren't on the internet. That's why I'm going to refrain from talking about them because it's just not right. It's not how business is done. So the Lionel Messi story is a really big thing. Taking off my Inter Miami CF hat and putting on my fan hat. Putting myself in the situation of a fan. This is one of the best decisions Major League Soccer and Inter Miami CF could ever make. You are at a crossroads right now where you're moving up, you're gaining traction with fans. You just signed a massive media rights deal with Apple TV. The MLS season pass has just hit the shelves. People are buying it. People are excited about Major League Soccer and the season that's ahead of us and all the deals. It is becoming a major sport here in the United States. You have the NFL, which I think is king in terms of viewerships and fans. It's the NBA right after. And then, in my opinion, others may think it's baseball. I don't think it's that quick, especially because of changing markets and fans and demographics. I think the NHL, the MLB, and the MLS are in a tight spot there. They are in the race for third. They are competing for third place right now, and they're looking to be one of the biggest sporting leagues in the world, starting in America. I don't think they could have picked a better time to bring Lionel Messi on board. The MLS is a growing league. It's got young fans. It's got old fans. And to possibly bring him to Inter Miami, it's the best decision they could make. And you're going to hear me saying that a lot, but it's true. The United States is a massive market that Lionel Messi could definitely benefit from joining. Add in the fact that he would be playing in Miami, which is seen as the international gateway here in the United States. You have so many Latin American fans, so many Hispanic fans, so much international attention. A real melting pot, as I've talked about in the past, here in Miami. That's not an exaggeration. You have people from all over the world, all kinds of backgrounds. This is the place to, I don't want to call it a retirement league because it's not, and I think we're past that as a league, but it's the perfect place to. It's almost like a cherry on top of his career. He's won a World Cup. He's won every award that he possibly can on the other side of the world in international soccer. You come to Major League Soccer, you conquer the American market, it's another notch in his belt. And it is the perfect way to conclude the sunset years of his career, seeing as he is still arguably the best player in the world. In my opinion, he is. And so it would be an excellent time to introduce him. And I think that Major League Soccer, if this deal did happen, Major League Soccer would look back and say, that was the perfect time to bring Messi on board. That's what took us from being one of the leagues that is kind of talked about, but not really, to becoming an international league. Lionel Messi would explode popularity of the MLS all over the United States, all over the world. And I am so incredibly excited for what could be. I look forward to it. And let's just hope that he ends up coming to Inter Miami CF. I think even if you're a fan of another MLS club, I'm pretty sure you can wrap your arms around this and kind of root for this to happen, because I sure am. So I kind of teased you guys with the Super Bowl preview. I left it for the last segment of the show. I'm sorry, but I got to do what I got to do. It's a business decision. So you hopefully watch the whole episode, and now you'll get to hear about your favorite topic, my favorite topic, the biggest game of the year. The Super Bowl being played next Sunday, February 12th. What can we expect, Ben? So I've been going back and forth about this a lot, and in my opinion, this is not as hard as it may seem. Number one, I want to address, I was totally wrong about Lane Johnson. That guy's toughness is unmatched. Not that I thought he was not tough, but I didn't think he could play through a groin injury as an offensive lineman against some of the toughest players in the world, but he has. So props to him. I know he's going to need surgery after the end of the season. I mean, that guy is an absolute unit. Good for him. But talking about the actual game, my head says Eagles, my heart says Chiefs. And I'm not a fan of either team. I'm not a hater of either team either. I'm just stating facts here. The Philadelphia Eagles have the best roster in football. They have all year. And what's very interesting, and if they win the Super Bowl, I'll talk about this a little bit more, is they were the story that was almost too good to be true. They blew out pretty much every team they played. They had a couple hiccups throughout the course of the season. But for the most part, they were unstoppable, except for when Jalen Hurts was injured and down the stretch when things didn't go their way in the regular season. But, I mean, they played really well. And this was a team that pretty much rolled over everyone. And I tend to side with history in the sense that the teams who are undefeated, or the teams who are undefeated last, like, they don't have good history in the postseason. This was just the Philadelphia Eagles' year. They have dominated from day one. They have imposed their will. They've just been a better overall team than everyone else. And it's going to be really interesting to see. I see the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. But if it comes down to the last 2 minutes of the game in the fourth quarter and the game is tied, or Mahomes and the Chiefs are down by 3 and they have the next possession, I'm taking Mahomes all the way. If this game is close down the stretch, I'm taking Mahomes by 1,000,000. I mean, he will find a way to get it done if this game is within grasp in the fourth quarter. It's just, he is one of the greatest quarterbacks I've ever seen, certainly the greatest quarterback talent I've ever seen. He will pull through if he's given an opportunity. And I think that's the way this game goes. But it's going to be really interesting. And if Patrick Mahomes can beat a loaded Eagles team with essentially a really banged-up team, no true weapons besides Travis Kelce after losing Tyreek Hill, if he can win both the MVP and the Super Bowl and end that curse, I mean, it is just another notch in the belt of Patrick Mahomes and his career. And in my opinion, it further solidifies Patrick Mahomes getting closer to Tom Brady and the greatest quarterback of all time rankings. Now, I do want to put a pin in the discussion that I've been seeing for the last week or so. Patrick Mahomes is not the greatest quarterback of all time. So I want to get that out of the way. Please, I love Patrick Mahomes and watching him play and what he does, but watch Tom Brady. Are we just going to forget about these comeback wins in the Super Bowl, how much adversity he's encountered, the games and situations that he had to be perfect in order to win it all? I mean, this is a guy that, if Eli Manning does not exist, he's already the GOAT, but is what? The god of football? I mean, this guy has had the closest to perfect of a career as you can possibly ask for in the NFL, when you can expect everything to go wrong, from injuries to personnel to just not winning it all to not being a good enough team. His legacy is pretty much untouchable. And for people to say that Patrick Mahomes has already passed him, whoa. Patrick Mahomes has most certainly not passed Tom Brady. I don't think he ever will. because I don't see him winning the 7 Super Bowls, but he'll get close. And I think this is a further notch in the belt for Patrick Mahomes, solidifying himself as one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time if he does find a way to win this game. And I'm really rooting for him. I hope he does well. But this GOAT talk has got to slow down. I mean, Tom Brady retired last week. We didn't even discuss that on the show. Maybe we will in the summer months when I'm really starting to get emotional about it, realizing that Tom Brady will not suit up once again. But come on, we can't already. Unfortunately, the NFL and the league, I might have talked about this on last week's show, they're always ready to crown the next guy in sports. And you witnessed that this past week. People are already riding off Tom Brady and his legacy. It is what it is. But I see the Philadelphia Eagles winning the game. If it comes down to the fourth quarter, 2 minutes on the clock, Mahomes is tied, or Mahomes is down by 3, or he's down by a touchdown, I take Mahomes any day of the week and twice on Sundays. That's all I have to say for this Super Bowl preview and for this show. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you want to hear more clips or you want to hear this show all over again, first of all, you can rewatch this. You can like it on YouTube. Engage on YouTube. I don't see enough engagement on YouTube. Check it out. Subscribe. And then if you want to see some of the shorter, funnier clips and engage with fans, head over to social media, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all that good stuff. The clips will be there waiting for you. And until next week, I'll be waiting for you right here. I'll see you next time. Have a good one, everyone. Enjoy your Super Bowl. Please drive safe after your Super Bowl parties. Have fun, not too much fun. And I will see you here, safe and sound, next week. Take care.